Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling. I am turned up for another interview. And today's interview is with a beautiful queen out of Washington, D.C. Her name is Dawn Covin, and I will tell you all about her in just a moment. But if you're joining us live, welcome to the show. This is Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling with Angela Jordan Perry. I'm your host, and I am delighted to have this time with you. Again, I'm going to tell you, I'm so excited to hear all of you who are following on YouTube and watching every video. I had one girl say, I'm watching every video, and I just can't wait. And then also on the podcast, and I'm getting messages about the podcast. It's so exciting to see the momentum and this bringing encouragement to you all, to this African homeschooling diaspora. It is a delight and a thrill to my heart to know that it's working. Yes. So you all, let me just tell you a little bit about myself as we get started. I'm Angela Jordan Perry. I'm the host of this show, Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, Girlfriends Chat. I'm the founder and executive director of Educating Our Own, and I'm just delighted to have this platform in which is all for the African homeschooling diaspora. Every single platform I've just mentioned. This is to encourage you in your homeschooling journey, to help you consider homeschooling, get your children into your homes, and teach and educate your own children. All right, that's preaching. I was going to tell you about myself, so let me tell you about myself. Okay, I'm a homeschooling mom of 8 children, 18 years of homeschooling. We make our home in the northwest part of the state of South Carolina, where we are self-sustaining farmers. And I've been married for 26 years. Just a couple of weeks ago, we celebrated that. Addition to doing all of this, I also serve my community here in the state of South Carolina, where I provide legal rights for families to homeschool all over the state. I'm an Option 3 Accountability Association director. And let's see, my purpose-driven life is to make a positive impact on thousands of homeschoolers worldwide. And I do that here on this platform and on the other platforms I've mentioned. And again, I humbly serve you and want to edify, exalt, megaphone, herald all of you beautiful Black and brown people in this community. So that's just a little bit about me, but I must go to our guest now. So Dawn.
Hi, Angela.
Hey, are you ready to make it happen?
I'm ready to make it happen, but your intro was so exciting. I think I want to interview you.
Okay. I've not been interviewed yet. I got someone who's ready.
Wow, you love to do that. It's very
I love to put me in the hot seat.
Yes.
So let me tell you a little bit about Dawn. So Dawn Covin is a wife, homeschooling mother, and aspiring entrepreneur. She is an avid fitness enthusiast and certified fitness instructor. Dawn recently received her Project Management Professional, PMP, certification to bridge the gap between her MBA and the 14 years she spent home full-time with her children. She and her business partner recently launched momEmatch, and she's going to tell us all about that. I cannot wait to hear the details on that. But it's an online network to encourage, support, and market products and services of mompreneurs who are seeking an alternative to re-entering the traditional workplace. So her quote, listen, is, "You will know them by their fruits." This is a statement that guides her everyday life. So she'll tell us more and unpack that as well. She and her husband, Michael, live in Washington, D.C. with their 4 amazing daughters. So Dawn, I have just told the girlfriends a little bit about yourself. If there's more to share, please do. And tell us how you actually got started in your homeschooling journey.
Oh, thank you, Angela. So that's a great question. So living in D.C., there is the education options are endless, but a lot of them are very, very expensive. And so when I first had my first daughter, I took a few months off and I was connected with Mocha Moms. And so through Mocha Moms, I developed relationships with some very wonderful sisters, some wonderful women, and attachment parenting was something that I embraced and lived. And so when I started thinking about school options, I was like, at this time I only had one child. So I was like, oh, well, why go to school? You just can stay home with me. And I started to really consider the idea, because when I looked at it, I was on maternity leave from work. But the idea of going back to work and possibly looking at private school, because we live in the district, and this was probably maybe 12 years ago, and where we were living, the schools were not the best, and so private school was probably going to be the option that we would need to choose. And it was so expensive. I mean, some of the pre-K, we were looking at $15,000, $20,000 a year for pre-K. So we thought, I would really just be going back to work to pay for tuition, which really didn't make a lot of sense. So I had a friend around me, my friend Monica Yusi, who had talked about homeschooling, and I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. And my children were still very young then. So, the stakes were pretty low. I thought it was pretty low risk time to try it out. But then fast forward, we moved to Georgia. And so in moving to Georgia, I thought, oh, great, we're going to be in Georgia. This is another place. I'm sure schools are going to be much better here. It's not going to be an issue. And that was not the case. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to really have to consider this homeschooling thing for sure this time. By this time, I've had 3 children. I have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And so in Georgia, the state of Georgia, there's no compulsory kindergarten. So you don't have to go to kindergarten. So that bought me another year to figure things out. And so when I started looking at different options, I kind of ruled out public school, just really was kind of conflicted with, just some of the faith issues that we have as a family, just thinking about sending my child somewhere that wasn't going to be something they could talk about or was going to be reiterated in school. So I was like, okay, so let's figure out this homeschooling thing. So then I really liked the idea of kind of the university model where they go 2 days and then they're home 3 days. So I thought that's, sounds pretty reasonable. But when I started looking at those options, there was just a true lack of diversity. And at the time, my daughter, at 6, at that point, she had probably had her locks for about 3 years. So we started her locks when she was 3. So I knew how important it was for her to be in an environment where her identity was affirmed, where, how she looked was affirmed. And I just didn't want to send her into a place where there was no one in her class that looked like her, or any of the instructors or teachers looked like her. So I remember there was one last I guess it was tutorial that I was going to consider. It was like my last hope. And I walked in there and I looked at the pictures of the classes, and there's just no brown people. And I remember leaving there crying, thinking, I'm going to have to homeschool. Like I don't want to do, this is what I'm going to have to do. But then from there, opportunities came up. That's kind of the moment that I made the decision to homeschool. And then from there, I wish I could say we never look back, but we just have kept going, and it has just become a lifestyle for us.
Yeah. So tell us how long you've been homeschooling and what's the ages of your girls now?
Okay, so I have been formally homeschooling. This will be, I guess, my 12th formal year, because I have my daughter, Christian. She's 17. She will be a senior this fall. I have a daughter, Logan. She's 14, and so she'll be entering her freshman year of high school as a 9th grader. My daughter, Kaylin, is 12. She'll be 13 in September, so she'll be going to 7th grade. And then Aiden is my 8-year-old, and she'll be entering 3rd grade in the fall. So I've homeschooled forever.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling with 8. Yes. Like forever, and I got forever to go.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm right with you. My youngest is 7. I don't know about you. I skipped the middle school year, so I kind of propelled them ahead 3 years. So my goal is to be done in about 7 more years. No, 8 more. What did I say? 8 more years is to be done. Retire. We'll see.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, 12 years of homeschooling, and you're homeschooling your 4 girls. So what was it like when you got started your homeschooling journey, Dawn?
It was very overwhelming, a little fearful, not having anyone. I have a really good friend from high school, and it's very funny because she jokes with me now, my friend Jocelyn, because she homeschooled her daughter until about 9th grade. So about this time that I'm trying to figure out homeschooling, she had been when she mentioned it to me the first time, I had never heard of it. And I didn't have children at the time. I don't even know if I was married yet. I know I didn't have children. And I was like, homeschooling, like, what is it? And why would you want to do that? And so she teases me about it to this day, because I did the quote that is so famous from everyone, right? we went to public school. We turned out okay. Like, why would you want to do that? And so we laugh about it now. But initially that was, she was my one support system. But other than her, I didn't know anyone that had ever done this. And not to mention having family that, of course, it was not something that they had heard of before. And from their perspective, you know, I had a career, you know, like, what are you doing? Well, this is not part of the plan. Like, why would you want to do that? And why would you on earth would you want to be around your children all the time when you could be out making money? So that was, it was a little hard to kind of bypass those types of thoughts. But I have a really great husband who took up the baton when I kind of was ready to be like, oh, you know, yeah, that homeschooling thing, you know, it sounded good. And I kind of started backpedaling, but by then he was already way on board. And when he's on board, he's like all the way on board. And so he was very instrumental in kind of keeping me motivated and being helpful. We did in those initial years, we used classical conversations for a few years, and that was helpful in terms of feeling like I had a little bit of structure, and not to mention it did provide a really wonderful Christian community that we were able to grow with and at least enter our homeschooling years with. So that was that was the first, I would say probably first 7 years of formal homeschooling. I would say not 7 years of formal homeschooling, like from first grade to 7th grade, I would say we did that.
Okay. So, I mean, what you said, it was very overwhelming. What was it about it that made it overwhelming for you?
You know, I think it was the idea of thinking that I had to do everything that they were doing in school. And how were my children going to be measured if they didn't have a test? How is it going to know that they were learning? How, you know, was I being fair to them? You know, am I really going to prepare them? You know, I'm doing air quotes under my table, but, you know, are they going to be prepared for life? And I think it was just kind of overcoming that mindset that school, or, you know, the traditional school is the only way to learn. And I think it took for me, because I didn't know anything different than regular school, had a lot of lack of confidence that this was the best thing for them. And, you know, no parent wants to think you're not doing the best.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get out of that mindset? I mean, that you realize that's crazy thinking. What am I doing? What long time? What was the span of time?
I think it didn't last that long. And I would say maybe the first 2 or 3 years. I think surrounding myself around a community that they were doing it, and in some cases had done it. And also too, like you're saying about the mindset, it really helped me to see that at the end of the day, is academics the number one priority that I have for my children. And I had to say, that's not the number one priority. You know, I care so much about their character and who they are as people, and wanting to have a hand in that development, and having that closeness with them in terms of knowing what's going on with them, and, you know, creating a very safe environment within our family for them to grow and make mistakes. And also having some type of management of how they're influenced. Like, that is huge to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is good stuff right there. Oh, that's all I can say. That's huge, and that's big. And we're going to have to dive deeper into that part right there. I put a box around it. That subject right there. We're going to dive deeper on our podcast, Girlfriends Chat, because you can unpack that so good. And I really want to give you time to do that. Tell us, for the Covin home, is there any daily habits that you all do in your homeschooling?
So we are, in terms of habits, when I think that we're trying to instill, you know, still working on it. And that's, I think, the one thing about homeschooling is that things change so much. It's just, you know, but you have to like get, what's your priority, right? And so I really try to encourage some type of devotion, something like that, to at least start the day with, you know, really trying to get them to take responsibility for chores, you know, those types of things. With, you know, having the older girls, they do have, the older two have phones. Actually, other ones have phones, but not with phone service. So, you know, they can use it. And really the technology, just realizing how much of a pull, I mean, the reality is, has it on all of us, but, you know, trying to manage that. And we have very specific instructions around, like, at night, they have to turn their phones in. And what I'm trying to work on now is, like, in the morning, it's not just, oh, it's the morning time, I get to use my phone. No, you know, you have to, you know, clean your room. You have to, you know, start preparing for your day. And you need to ask permission. And then I need to verify the things that I've said need to be done before you get your phone are done before you get your phone. So
Mhm.
it's like, those types of things, just really trying to get them into, and even just relationally, trying to get them to understand, look, in the real world, people may not take too kindly to you saying something mean to your sister. Like learn how to treat each other nice first,
Mhm.
So we have a lot of that just in terms of, how it is with friends. We're trying to teach them, look, you can't treat your friends better than your family. Can't do that. Not acceptable.
Yes, yes, I fully understand that. So here goes to one of my favorite questions, and this question really humanizes us for those who may not homeschool and they're just think it's like, oh, you got it all together. Take us to your worst day of homeschooling, Dawn. It's so bad that you were ready to quit and throw in the towel. I'm done. I cannot do this. But you did not quit. And this is why you are here, 12 years later, homeschooling these 4 children, about to graduate one.
Mhm.
So take us to that day that almost made you quit.
I would say probably somewhere around the pregnancy with my 4th. I feel like we have been very blessed with children that have not necessarily been, quote, planned for having. And so having a pregnancy at 40 and just the energy that it took out of me, I can remember calling one of my girlfriends like in tears, because physically, and I was still pretty active. I was working out every day. So it wasn't that I didn't, I could get to that part, but the rest of my day, I felt like I couldn't move. Like I was so exhausted, and I thought, there's no way I can homeschool and be this tired. And the baby's not even here yet. So what in the world am I going to do when I have a newborn? And then I'm still expected to, provide some type of education for the other 3. So I would say that probably was the point that I said, you know what, it's probably not wise. This is not a wise choice. I'm going to be holding them back. They're not going to be learning as much because I'm not going to have the energy or the time to devote to them. So that, I would say, that probably was the worst moment. I was
Okay.
on the floor crying.
Oh, okay, that's bad. Oh. Well, conversely, take us to your most memorable moment of homeschooling where it almost brought you to tears, and maybe even think about it now and bring you to tears, and you just say, this right here, this is why we have stuck it out. This is why we are doing what we're doing for this moment right here.
Wow, that's a great question, Angela. Let me think. I think one moment that stands out for me is, I think my husband and I were having a conversation, and I don't even remember what the details of the conversation was, but in the middle of our conversation, my daughter, and she at that time, she couldn't have been more than 4 or 5. I'm sure we were having, some type of discussion about a decision or something, and my daughter said, "Remember, lean not into your own understanding." And I was like, wow, like there, not only has she heard that before, she knew the context and to use it and was using that, our faith is such the foundation of our family. And I think for me was like, okay, this is worth continuing to do. If this is what the seeds that we're planting, if this is what's being produced, then we need to stay the course.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, girlfriends, hey, let me just let you know, this is Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, and I am interviewing Dawn Covin out of Washington, D.C., homeschooling mom of 12 years to 4 beautiful young ladies that she has over there on that part. She has one, she's about to graduate now. I mean, this is her last year, and I know that I remember the excitement when I finished with the first one, like, oh, we did it. Okay, we're done. Like, we did it, and she was done. I was like, is that it? Nobody wanted anything from me? I mean, we finished everything. And so she's about to enter into that. And then we did number 2, and then number 3 was like, oh, okay, girl, you ready to be done? You ready to go to college? It's 16. And so this is really exciting for Dawn. So if you would please do me this favor, go ahead and hit the share button, right on the bottom, hit share so that other girlfriends can hear this, receive the encouragement that Dawn is sharing. I mean, she's putting down just like this, listen, I'm a normal mom and this is what I'm doing, homeschooling, and we're making it happen. that encouragement there. And then also for someone who may be considering homeschooling and they just think that is not for them, maybe because of, the color of their skin or because we don't do that kind of thing, that kind of mentality. No, no, no. So Dawn, we are dispelling that thought processes. So hit the share button on here, share this YouTube video, please, and let's get the word out about Girlfriends' Guide and this great content. So appreciate it so much. So Dawn, on this part of the show, this is some questions to pick your brain, so they can be quick answers as we go through this part of the show. So tell us, Dawn, what is your favorite quote or mantra that you use that has helped you get yourself through this homeschooling journey?
It would be, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Okay, gotcha. Do you plan, although you have one that's about to graduate, do you plan to homeschool all of your girls to the end, whatever that end is?
Yes.
Yes. What is something unique that you all do in the Covin homeschool that, make this is our special tradition, if you will, in your homeschooling?
That's a great question, Angela. Let me think about that for a second. It's related to our homeschooling, but we try to incorporate like regular family meetings around like what we're going to do and kind of what the plans are for the week, and try to as a unit, as a family, make sure that we're all on the same page. So we do try to do that.
Do you do like weekly, or
that's the goal?
Huh?
That's the goal, weekly. It's so funny. My husband and I were just talking about it the other day. And also too, we were thinking, and because sometimes the girls are not exactly thrilled about it. So we're trying to think of creative ways to like make it more exciting for them, whether it's we get pizza as we do it. We've also tried, doing maybe make it before game night, so they have something to look forward to. Because, we know there's so many things that are important and we want to instill, and may not be exciting for them, but we still know that it's something that they need.
Yeah. And I know this is not making this question quick at all, but just in case a viewer is, considering having these family meetings and just want to know what that looks like. Is the purpose to plan for the next week, or to see if everything worked well? Did everyone get their work done? What do you do at your weekly planned family meetings?
No, that's a great question. So what we usually do is give everyone an opportunity to say what's going on with them. What was great? What happened for you this week that you'd like to share and celebrate? Try to always keep it positive, but at the same time, give them an opportunity to air out grievances, because that's just a reality of family. I think that when you are homeschooling, and then for myself as well as my husband, he's usually at work, but having to interact with your family members every day, it does take some, that's what they're used to. They've known that all their life, but I think it is something that has to be acknowledged, that that's not something necessarily that comes easy, and everybody at some point needs their space. And so I will actually, as we're saying it, we have quiet time every day. Every day from 2 to 4 is quiet time. And it used to be only an hour and a half, but I read someone's blog and they were doing it 90 minutes. And I thought, 90 minutes, I send everyone to their separate corners. Even if they share a room, everyone has to find their own space. Now that they're older, of course, they don't necessarily nap, but they have to do something quiet. And I think that helps all of us. It gives me a minute to breathe. It gives them a minute to breathe, right? Because being with each other all the time, they can get on each other's nerves, and I'm sure I get on their nerves. And so we all can have our own space for 2 hours. And no electronics, no TV. You don't have to go to sleep. You don't have to take a nap, but you can read, you can work on something else, but it just gives everyone a minute to just kind of have some quietness in the house. So I should have thought of that first, because I guard quiet time like I had napping toddlers. Like, we do that.
We're gonna get it done. It's gonna happen. Oh,
yeah.
Neato. Neato. Do you have any a favorite curriculum or books or CDs or something, a resource that helped you when you started in your homeschooling journey that you want to share with the girlfriends?
I'm trying to think of the title of the book. It's John, I mean, it's a very popular homeschooling because it's not really curriculum, but it goes back to that mindset.
Right.
I don't know why I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he was like an award-winning New York City public school teacher, and he talked about basically what traditional school was created for and how it really, and when you think about developing individuals, it doesn't necessarily do. I think for me as a mother who wasn't really sure about homeschooling, that book definitely helped to change my mind and view education much differently. And I think that's really what gave me the momentum to get started and really stick with it. I have to think of the name of it.
Yeah, when you think of it, I put it in the show notes. So girlfriends, you can get back to it once Dawn thinks of it. You'll find it right there. So that sounds very interesting. I mean, I would be curious to know what that book is. What is the best piece of advice you received on this homeschooling journey, Dawn?
I guess the best piece of advice would be that homeschooling can look different for different people. Just as many different people there are and different personalities and just different styles, there can be that many different ways of homeschooling, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. And I think a lot of people get caught up in thinking that homeschooling has to look one way. And for some people, it may work, looking like traditional school. That's what most people, I think is that I have to have a chalkboard and I have to, get my children up and they need to sit at a desk and they need to open the books to page 285 and we need to do this. It doesn't have to look like that. I mean, I respect unschoolers, I expect that, and I give them a lot of credit. I personally just don't have the confidence to think that I'd be able to really be effective that way, but I know people that are, and I think it's a wonderful thing. And I think that's one of the best things someone told me is that it doesn't have to look a certain way. What works for you, honestly, for most parts, the children will adapt. It has to work for you as a mom, or it's not going to work.
That's right. That's good. Good. I'm glad you said that. Beautiful. All right. Do you have any favorite resources or online resources or apps or something that you all use in your homeschool that you're like, everybody should know about this in their homeschool?
So I'm thinking Starfall for the readers, right? The beginning readers. I like that one. Quizlet, is it Quizlet, I believe? I think that's the one where you can create your own test and quiz. And now that I'm looking at, the graduating and SAT prep, I like Scholar Prep for SAT prep. Another homeschooler suggested that one to me. Works really well if you have a very self-directed, self-motivated student. Really great about preparing for SATs, giving practice exams. So that's kind of where my head is with her right now. PBS Kids is always great for young ones. Oh, and I love IEW. How could I forget that? Institute for Excellence in Writing. I think it's one of the best, one of the only curriculums, honestly, in all my years of homeschooling that I actually watch the videos. I like Pudwa. He's just that guy who teaches it just has a really interesting sense of humor, but it really connected with me. And I love the concept and materials. I think it's a great way for children to learn how to write.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes, that's my favorite go-to. Every child in this household would go through IEW, everyone.
Yes.
So they can do anything else, but they can do IEW.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, here we are on the last question, Dawn. This is $1 million question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Dawn, so if you had to start all over again, back to day one of your homeschooling journey, but you have your current wisdom, knowledge, skills, convictions, insights, and you had to start over, what would be something you'd be sure to implement this time around in your homeschooling journey, and something you'd be sure not to do in your homeschooling journey this time around?
Okay, so what I would be sure to do would be in the early years to really focus on play. I think we really put too much pressure on ourselves and our children when they're 4 or 5 and feel like we are in this race to get them to read at 3. Oh, you need to do this, and that's one of the things when I hear people saying they want to homeschool and I'm like, how old is your child? 2? Like that's, it's a great, I encourage you to want to homeschool, but you have enjoy, just play, just don't put on that pressure. I think of some beautiful times of just simply like playing and meeting friends at the museum. And that's when I really had a love for, just being with my children, being with community. And so I said, I wouldn't rush that part. I wouldn't rush the academics. That's the one thing that I would make sure to put in would be the play, a more of an emphasis on play. What I would definitely take out, I think I'd be very much more conscientious about history and how and what my children are being taught and what perspective it's coming from. Mm-hmm. So I'll leave it at
that. You may elaborate if you'd like.
Well, American history it's usually coming from a certain angle, and I would say that I would make sure that I provided that with the right lens. And also, you hear talk about now, of course, with Black Panther, everyone's, Wakanda forever. But we need to understand we've been there. That our story has not started with slavery. And I think that's just that's how we're educated, right? Nothing is taught. You're not taught about anything for people of color, and it starts with slavery. And that's just, I think, has set us up for so much of the challenges that we have in terms of loving ourselves and being proud of who we are.
Very good. Yes. Well said. Well said. Well said. All right, Dawn. Well, listen, any last words of advice you want to share with the girlfriends? And then let us know what you have your hands in that we as a community, as a village, can support you with, girlfriend.
Okay, great. I would say, find you someone that's homeschooling, that has had a great experience, and really, find a mentor. These days, everyone needs a coach. And so I would say find a community. And if you don't have one like locally, these are great resources like what Angela's provided. There are so many people that are so doing a great job with homeschooling. It's not, I think, the stereotypical way that people think it has to be done. And quite honestly, I think the proof is in the pudding. You look at homeschooling families, one of the myths, I think that's, hopefully it's so outdated now, this whole socialization argument. Mm-hmm. I mean, really defining what that means. I think a lot of people are hesitant. Well, I want my child to be socialized. Well, what exactly does that mean? And realizing that education and how they're educated doesn't necessarily, it's a part of how they're socialized, but there's so many things. It actually gives you the freedom to even do more things, actually. So I would say, look at the benefits. I think they're just so numerous when you think about outside of academics, just what it gives you as a family, and really connect yourself with some, great other resources and other families that are doing it and have been doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what do I have my hand in? Oh, so you mentioned earlier momEmatch. momEmatch is an organization or a business that supports moms that are starting their business. And we match those moms with businesses that provide startup services. So if you're a mom and you want to go into business, but you don't know where to start, you need a graphic artist person. We can connect you with a mom who does graphic design. You need maybe an accountant. We'll connect you with a mom who does accounting. I know just for us, it was we felt like we were always trying to find someone to do something as we were starting our business. Startup, you're so excited about the idea of having a business, but there's a lot that goes into putting all the pieces together. So momEmatch gives you all those pieces in one place, and you're supporting another mom, and we're working together to create this commerce. We want to really, we really want to strengthen, because we know we're powerful as women. We're powerful as women. We're powerful as moms. And if we can come together financially to support each other in business, the sky is totally the limit. And I know for a lot of homeschoolers, having the extra income is something that's really needed. And so why not, find a creative way that you can make money on your own terms. That's really what we want to empower women to still make your family the primary focus, and use the skills that you have and market them.
Absolutely. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right. Well, girlfriends, You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. And this hour, you have been hanging out with Dawn Covin out of Washington, D.C. So listen, keep up the momentum and continue, just like Dawn said, continue to connect with positive influence. Find that community that you can connect with, be strengthened, empowered, encouraged in. I call it a sister circle. Get into a sister circle as you are homeschooling that's going to encourage you on the journey, talk you off that ledge when you're on the floor crying, like like Dawn was saying. Someone could say, come on, girl, you can do this. Let's get up and go, keep going. So keep up the momentum. And then you also be that positive influence like Dawn is, be that positive influence that you can give back. Get back into the community and strengthen others as you have been strengthened. So with that in mind, I just want to say, Dawn, thank you so much for giving up your time, your wisdom, saying yes, like right away, and making this happen. So Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling appreciates you and thankful to you for what you're doing in this community. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, my pleasure. So girlfriends, just a moment ago, Dawn said that you need to, I wrote it down, find someone who can mentor you and someone locally who can encourage you. So if you cannot, yes, it's great to have someone that you can connect with, but I want to tell you about educating our own. You all get ready. So right now it's on Facebook. Go to Educating Our Own Now. This is going to be a platform that is going to give you village elders, those who are like Dawn, who has the years behind them. Maybe they don't have the years behind them. Maybe they're not even in homeschooling, but they have identifiable voices where they will be able to give encouragement to you virtually and help you through every aspect of your homeschooling journey. You think about what you need to know, it's going to be on the website. And if we don't have it on the website, you let us know and we're going to put it on there. So if you want to know how to juggle having 8 children and homeschooling them, all right, I'm going to have a video on there for you for that. If you want to know how to start farming and homeschool, all right, entrepreneurship and how do you do that? How do you raise these 4 beautiful women to love the skin they're in? Hint, 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 Dawn, that's a great place that elder can speak into. So you think about any aspect, how to get started, why to get started, why you must get started, how to get them ready for college, what resources you need. All of that's going to be on that website. So you will have no excuse. You will be without excuse to educate your own children. That's the platform, okay? So you all look for that. This has been episode number 19. Let me turn my paper out. 94, okay? This is 94 episodes where you are getting encouragement and insights from people like Dawn, who are sharing their wisdom and their encouragement to say, if I can do it, honey child, you can do it too. Okay, so you again are without excuse. All right, so thank you all so much. Let me just leave you with these words. Just remember that to teach a child is to touch a life. And as we homeschool, we not only touch a life, we shape the future through our humble, minuscule efforts of homeschooling. So keep making that positive impact day after day, year after year. And before you know it, you'll be just like Dawn with homeschoolers who are graduating and going on to the next phase of life. And you shape them all by your hands and the help of your village to get them there. Okay. All right. So thank you, girlfriends. Go back and replay this, share it, and let others hear this amazing interview. So thank you so much. Again, this is Angela Jordan Perry, your host on Girlfriends' Guide to Homeschooling, and I look forward to our next interview. We'll see you soon. Bye, Dawn.
Bye. Thank you, Angela.
You are welcome. You're welcome.